As you can see, layer masks play a huge role in compositing. So let's go ahead and continue and clean up the bottom of this cloud's image by painting this part away to black. So we're going to use black and just go ahead and clean that up. And once we have that cleaned up, actually I went a little too far. Let me undo that. I don't want to get rid of all these clouds here. So I'm going to just very gently scrape underneath this cloud here like so. And then once I have these guys out of here, what we're going to do next is start to use some of the farm machinery to make the ship look more metallic and more actually constructed from materials. And that's going to be very important to convey more realism in this image. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to save again. And let's go ahead and see which detail I'm going to work with first. I think, let's see here. That looks kind of cool. I'm going to click on this Details 4 layer. And I'm going to drop its opacity down. And I'm also going to move it up to the top of the stack so I can really focus on it. So let me grab this and put it way up there. I'm going to rotate it a little bit by pressing Command and Control T. And I'm going to line it up so that it's at the bottom here. It looks kind of cool, like an engine and a wing kind of function there. I think that's going to look really, really awesome. And I'm going to go to the Edit menu, Transform and Distort, just to make it fit a little bit more along the actual angle of the ship. And I'll move that down into position and tweak it just a little bit more. Tweaking also a huge role inside of Photoshop. Now I'm going to grab my polygonal lasso tool after I drop this opacity down even more so I can see what I'm doing. I need to see the ship itself. So I'm going to just click with the lasso tool and follow the outline of the ship. I'm going to let this go pretty far up, like so. We can also use a gradient layer mask to get rid of what we don't want to see on this. Now I let go of the lasso too soon, not a problem. Hold down the Shift key and just add to the layer and double click inside of it. Now I'm going to go to Select, Inverse, and hit Delete, and then press Command and Control D, and look how cool that looks already. So now let's add a layer mask, and we'll go to our good old friend the gradient, and I'm going to click and get rid of some of that stuff up here. That looks pretty good. Going to also increase the opacity a little bit more. And I think what I'll do is add a blend mode. Let's try difference. Let's try exclusion. Yeah, that works great. Once again, I'll increase the opacity until I can see that stuff. And I'm liking that a lot. Let's do the same thing with a different detail. I'll go to Details 2. And once again, I'm going to move this to the top of the stack. And I'm going to rotate it. And I'm going to drop the opacity down so I can see what I'm doing. And I'll really stretch that out. I'm trying to get these grids here, these lines. I'm going to hit Enter or Return to accept that. And do the same thing. Grab my polygonal lasso and just draw around the ship. And this part is time consuming, but it's going to look great once you add a lot of these different things. So I'm only going to do just one more here and leave the rest to you guys. So I'm going to go to Select, Inverse, Delete, Deselect, and I'm going to, did I actually deselect that and delete it? Let's see, let's try it again. I'll hit Delete and deselect and drop the opacity down and see what I have here. Somehow I still have the rest of this image, so let me try that once again. Just quickly grab this. There we go. And now what I could do is move that into position and drop the opacity down. I can also scale it by pressing Command or Control T if I need to, and just get that exactly the way I want. And then clean up the rest of this image by grabbing a lasso and just drawing outside the image like this to get all that extraneous stuff and then deleting it. Once again, I can add a layer mask and I can just experiment and just try to show just a little bit of it. And once again, with a layer mask, you have to pretty much play around until you find what you're looking for. And that looks pretty good. Once again, I'm going to go to that exclusion mode, increase my opacity, and now I have a little bit more life in this ship. So just experiment and add more pieces to the ship. And then in the next part, I'll show you how to add some really cool exhaust behind the ship.